Hey everybody, Robert Wright here, and I'm a private label law attorney who helps Amazon sellers protect their legal rights. And today I want to talk to you about one of the most common questions I get asked by sellers, especially when they're starting out: should they form a business? Now, that's a question. I always ask one question back, and it's this: do you want to make sure that if something goes wrong in your business, that your personal assets aren't at stake? And generally speaking, the answer is yes. As a new seller, you don't want that. You want to make sure that your personal assets are over here and the assets of the business are the assets that are at risk, right? So if that's you, if that's what you want in your private label business, I would highly recommend forming some sort of company. Now, when I say form a company, you really have two options, right? You can incorporate or you can form what's called a limited liability company. The difference between the two ultimately comes down not so much to cost or anything like that. In terms of protection, tax advantages and the like, they're ultimately largely the same. In my mind, incorporating and running a corporation is just more administratively burdensome than running a limited liability company. And let me tell you why. When you incorporate, you file articles of incorporation with your Secretary of State, you set up a board, you issue shares, you're appointing CEOs. It all of a sudden, there's a lot of complexity that has to happen in order to legitimately run your corporation, right? And those are all good things if you have the manpower and you really have the internal setup to handle all that. But then, if it's just you, if it's you and a partner, it's a lot of work, right? Now you're sitting down and having annual meetings and taking minutes of the meetings and making sure that the meeting minutes are filed. Again, that's a lot of paperwork, right? To me, a limited liability company, it gives you the same degree of protection, meaning that there's a veil of protection between your personal assets and the assets of the business, so that your house, your bank account, your car, your whatever is all nicely shielded over here. But there's no board of directors in a limited liability company. There's no minutes of meetings to be kept. It's a very I don't want to say it's an informal sort of, or a business entity, but it's certainly a less formal entity than a corporation is. And the reason for that is, back in the late 1970s, when states were trying to figure out how they could spur small businesses, how could they spur entrepreneurship, a bunch of smart people got together and they said, okay, corporations, the typical corporate vehicle, incorporating boards of directors, all that sort of stuff we just talked about, that's a little too much for your typical small business owner. It can be intimidating, it can be overwhelming. And so the idea was to take all of the benefits of a corporation, the personal liability protection, the ability to take advantage of certain corporate tax rates. Let's take all that, let's strip out all the administrative stuff, and let's create a new sort of entity. Let's call it a limited liability company, right? You file articles of organization with the Secretary of State, you appoint a registered agent, have an operating agreement, you get a federal tax ID. It's basically boom, 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 and then you're off and running. Now, one word of caution as I talk about how, the limited liability company is so great because you don't have all that administrative burden. What you don't want to be is too informal with it, right? I really like this notion of, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It sounds kind of ridiculous, right? But if someone were to ever call into question the validity of your limited liability company, if it looks like a limited liability company and it operates like a limited liability company, then it's a limited liability company, right? If you're in business, you have to act like a real business, right? And so that means having a business bank account set up just for business expenses. That means as you make decisions in the company, it means having an operating agreement, right? An operating agreement is basically a contract between you, the member, and the limited liability company. It sets out the rules and policies and how things are going to be managed and run in your company. And then once you have that contract, that operating agreement in place, you want to make sure that you honor it. So as you make large decisions, maybe it's taking on investment, maybe it's taking on debt, whatever it is, maybe it's filing a trademark, just, even if it's just you making those decisions and you don't have to be super formal about it, just make a memo to the file and just file it away. Just be formal. Because again, if you were ever called into question, just because you don't have boards of directors, because you don't have annual meeting minutes, that sort of thing, running your limited liability company and kind of going above and beyond, it's just going to make sure that those questions, if they were to ever arise, completely go away.